Okay, so it's Brenden and Gavin Rich for SuperSport.com. We're just chatting a bit about we're at the Boks Hotel at the moment, talking about the week that's gone by. It's obviously a massive build-up. It's heightened very quickly. We've had narratives about Springboks slowing down play, the All Blacks, wanting to play, fast rugby, and it's almost goes back to the way we used to have it when the Lions were here, Gav, where. The British press started accusing the Boks of playing, what do they call it, anti-rugby.
Well, that's a time warp. I mean, I've written in my SuperSport.com columns that the New Zealanders are living in a time warp because they're looking at South African rugby circa maybe 2019. In 2019, there was that horrible semi-final that the Boks played against Wales, where I can't remember how many times the ball was kicked, but it was kicked a ridiculous amount. But then the Boks actually, the following week, they actually ran the ball a bit in that game. I think they surprised England a bit with the way they played. I remember I was on the Times podcast. What is it called?
Ruck.
The Ruck. Yeah, I was in the Times podcast and that with Stephen Jones and Alex Lowe and David Walsh. And I remember most of them, with maybe the exception of David, were all saying that the All Blacks are going to win, and they're going to win that. They're going to win that World Cup final because not the All Blacks, the England. Sorry, they were going to win the final because they'd been so excellent against the All Blacks the week before, and they all wrote off South Africa completely on the basis of that kickathon that we saw. And let's face it, Russie in those days against Warren Gatland, I mean, was a kickathon because they both played. Remember, Warren Ball wasn't the most exciting thing in the world under Warren Gatland. But since then, and it started in Marseille in 2022 when Peter Steff was red carded early in that game. It was Marseille against France. We lost that game very closely, but that was the game where South Africa started to run back their kick receipt, and they actually hurt France in that game. And ever since then, you remember, then it was the following week against Italy that Manie Lebok was introduced to the Boks setup. And whenever I hear foreigners talking about South Africa wanting to slow the ball down, I think to themselves, are they not paying attention? We've got two of the most exciting fly halves in the world, in Sasha Feinberg and Goma Zulu, and Manie Lebok, and both of those, almost to a fault, are almost too attacking at times. Yeah. I mean, certainly at franchise level, they both got criticised in the past when they were playing for the Stormers. So the South African game has changed. We've got a Kiwi assistant coach in the form of Tony Brown. Tony Brown would not be involved with a team that just wants to slow the ball down and just wants to be anti-rugby. So that's completely changed. That the South African approach to the game has gone 180 degrees since say 2022. So it doesn't make any sense to me that people talk about South Africa being anti-rugby. It's almost like those people are living in a time warp.
Well, I think just it's very ironic that you mentioned that Wales game, and the game before this for the Springboks was also a kick fest, 81 kicks against Argentina, and that also contributed to the conversation yesterday about ball in play, because as Jaco Peyper and Rassie pointed out, if you kick, there was 46 minutes of ball in play in that game, and it wasn't a spectacle at all. I think Jaco was answering your question at the press conference for it. And then looking at so the Boks play very differently. They score 5.5 tries on average since Tony Ball was introduced. I hate the word, but
I hate it as well.
But since Tony Brown's been here, they're a very different team, and they are going to be an all-round team. What hasn't changed is that the set piece is strong, the mauling is strong. They're going to go out in their scrums and they're going to have a go at the All Blacks, because what we've seen, Gav, is in these two games, while the All Blacks have won all the games quite comfortably, there has been a couple of chinks in their armour under the high ball, at the scrums, and in the mauls as well. And in the mauls, we've seen them infringe a bit as well, and they get away with it. So there's quite a few of these talking points ahead of this test.
Well, you see, they started with their tour in Cape Town, as everyone knows, and I thought that the Stormers exposed them. The Stormers actually... It was almost as if the Stormers went in there to sort of like expose those chinks in the armour and to ask questions that maybe New Zealand even felt that they needed answering. And it was almost as if it would help New Zealand a bit. Their scrumming was awful against the Stormers. I mean, but their Stormers scrum is strong. Under Brock Harris, they do have a very, very good scrum culture there. It's just the mind boggles to think of what they actually achieve, and they've still got Zachary Porthen and Wilco Lowe to come back once our season starts properly. But the mauling, they couldn't stop the Stormers maul. They struggled in the aerial contest. It's weird now because I'm hearing a lot of people say, well, the All Blacks have improved because they turned their back to the kicker, and almost as if they watched that game that was played in Argentina a week ago, or about 10 days ago, and that they've taken a cue from them, and that's how to do it. But I think people might be reading too much into that game. We weren't there, obviously, and I always feel that you should be there if you really want to know what's happening in a game. But we weren't there, but it looked like that there was a big wind blowing in that game, and that I mean, some of those balls that the South Africans kicked went backwards. So I think that was a factor in that match. But since the Stormers game, they haven't really been tested. The Sharks side that played was a very young side, almost like an academy side, and their scrumming isn't as strong as the Stormers either, even when they're at full. Okay, when Oxenchair's there and Bongi's there and they've got Vincent Koch, then their scrum is strong, but they're very seldom at full strength. And the Bulls are without Jan-Hendrik Wessels, without Johan Grobler, without Gerard Steenekamp, and whilst Wilco Louw's now gone to the Cape, he was obviously a Bull up until recently.
Not just them, Ron Nokia and Kobus Wessel would have made a very different type 5.
Yeah.
I think we're going to sort of close this off by now, because we're going to still talk a lot this week. But in terms of the test on Saturday, I think we know it's going to be a brutal game. We know it's going to be, the physicality is going to be amped up. We know the All Blacks are going to try and get a fast start, and we know that there's going to be a lot of pressure placed, not only the refs, but on all the officials around the field to try and get the decisions right. I feel the Boks should have enough. I think if the All Blacks have a chance, this is probably their best bet to catch the Boks. But I think we're going to have a test that's probably going to be pretty close. What do you reckon?
It's going to be brutal. It's going to be a war of attrition, and the war of attrition normally means that it's almost like the last man left standing. And that's why I say that the Springboks definitely go into the series as outright favourites. It's hard to see the All Blacks winning if there are injuries, and we have to go down to sort of second string teams. On that basis, I think that the Springboks will win the series. The one possible curveball is this Saturday at Ellis Park. The last time we played a Southern Hemisphere team at Ellis Park was Australia, and we ran ourselves off our feet. Again, though, you can then ask, people say we slow the ball down. Did we slow the ball down then? No, actually the Springboks played too much of an attacking game there, too high tempo, and that's the danger at Ellis Park. I mean, I've seen it happen to New Zealand teams in the past, and I'm not talking about the All Blacks now because they've got a good record there. But I remember the Hurricanes coming to play the Lions in, I think, 2016 or 2017. And John Plumtree and Chris Boyd were the coaches then, and they'd smashed the Lions in a night game in about April or March. About April or May, earlier on in the year. And then they came back to play against the Stormers against the Lions in I think it was a quarterfinal. And in the first half, the Hurricanes were running the Lions off their feet. And I remember sitting at home and thinking to myself, these guys are doing the wrong thing. It was a daylight game, which is always the worst when it comes to altitude for visiting teams. And they did. In the end, the Lions won that game going away. So you get some freaky results at Ellis Park because of the altitude, and if you do go out too fast, I mean, you can ask John Dobson at the Stormers and whoever's coaching the Sharks these days, because they've gone through so many different coaches. But the people who've taken coastal teams to the Halfveld often the catchphrase before a game is, we need to manage it, and it does need to manage. We've got even the Boks. I mean, even though they sort of live up here, a lot of them, you need to manage your energy to some extent. So a Joburg test sometimes is a bit difficult to predict, but I do expect the Boks to win, and I do think that they'll win because they've got the physical edge. But a lot will depend on how the referee Matthew Carley refs in those early minutes. If I see that the All Blacks are getting away with some of the things that they got away with against our professional club teams over the last couple of weeks, then I will be worried about the Boks.
On that note, that's it. We'll be back at the time. You can catch us through the tour. If you want to see us in between these videos, you can have a look at on YouTube. Search for our podcast, Talking Boks with Nick Mallett. We chat before and after every game as well. So have a look out for the guys, and thanks for watching. Cheers.